Hello, guys. This is Dr. Hatemi with the Veritas Podcast. We have a special guest today. We have Bret Carter from Carter Insurance Group. Welcome, Bret. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome to our podcast. And we want to talk about what you do, something a little bit about yourself, and just insurance in general. So
very good, very good.
So tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life story. How did you end up here? What you do?
Well, I was born and raised in Casey, which is West Columbia side of town, and went to high school, graduated there. I ended up down in Charleston for college. Went to College of Charleston. Once I graduated college, it was 2008, so there was no economy and no jobs. So I ended up moving back home and went to work at a restaurant downtown called Harper's. I know a lot of people knew what that was. It's no longer there. It's now the what's the barbecue place? Home Team Barbecue down there in 5 Points area. And I ended up starting my career with Blue Cross, the health carrier, which you know a lot about, I'm sure.
I love Blue Cross
Probably
Blue
your
Shield.
favorite.
My favorite company in South Carolina.
So I spent 7 years there, and then while all that was going on, my mom has actually done insurance since 1989, so virtually my whole life. She was with Farm Bureau starting out. Then she went to a company called County Bank, which is an independent insurance agency. And in 2016, she ended up buying out the County Bank book of business here in Lexington and opening her own called the Carter Insurance Group. So that was June 1st of 2016. And then she talked me into coming over there in, I believe it was about February or March of 2017. And at that point, going from the health insurance world, I started doing personal lines insurance, and then I dove headfirst into the commercial lines because our agency was predominantly just doing personal lines, and I was, we have a lot of clients that own businesses like yourself, and we just wanted to round out all of our accounts and keep everybody in-house. So I took it upon myself to do all the commercial, and we've been doing that since about early 2018, all commercial for me. So
what did you do in Blue Cross Blue Shield during those 7 years?
So the first year I was there, I was in the pre-certification department. So, anytime you need a procedure done, things like that, it comes in, it has to be medically approved as being necessary, no cosmetic stuff, things like that. And then from there, with Blue Cross, you had to be in your position for 1 year, then you could apply anywhere within the company. And so I spent my 1 year there, and then I got a direct sales rep position. So I was selling actual policies at that point, and I got transferred up to Greenville. So I lived in Greenville for a year, and then the two reps here ended up not being employed anymore, so they brought me back to Columbia, and I spent about 5 or 6 more years, or 5 years here in Columbia doing that.
So you were selling primarily health insurance?
Selling health insurance, group, individual, and Medicare.
So you moved from health insurance to commercial insurance.
Yep.
And what's the difference between those two? Like, what was the challenges shifting from health to the property and casualty?
So, very, very large difference. When I started doing the healthcare, it was before the Affordable Care Act went into place. So, it was passed in 2010, and it was implemented in 2013. I was at Blue Cross selling in 2012 before all of the craziness started. So, just going from the non-Obamacare, Affordable Care Act stuff to that was quite a change. And then going from the health world to the commercial side, they're just not the same at all. I mean, there's literally no comparison. Health is basically you punch in a bunch of information, name, address, social, and you get a rate based upon your age and whether or not you're a tobacco user. Because with the Affordable Care Act, there's no more rating on health. So there's no health questions or pre-existing conditions or anything like that. So that's, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And you're selling a product here in South Carolina with Blue Cross that holds like 60% of the market share. So it's kind of sells itself. So it's pretty easy on that side. Going over to the commercial world is a whole lot different because you actually have to meet with the business owners, basically interview them about their business, figure out what they do. Because every business, including yourself, you're an urgent care facility, but every urgent care facility probably does some different things. You have different equipment. So it's really a big fact-finding mission for me to go in and talk to you and come to the facility, see what all equipment you got, things like that. So there's a lot of information entailed with the commercial insurance as opposed to the health.
So what makes you different than other insurance companies? Like what Carter Insurance Group is different than the others? How did you set yourself apart?
So we're independent, which means we can write through several different carriers. You got your farm bureaus, state farms, people like that. They're only writing their own product. We get to write through several different companies, so we have contracts for each of these different carriers.
So you can shop around,
find the best, the best fit. It's not always, you don't always want to go with the cheapest, of course. You want to find who's got the best coverage. Each insurance carrier has different forms that they cover your building on. They cover your contents, any kind of MRI machines, x-ray machines, things like that. They're all covered a little bit differently. We have to get those values correct. And with us, we try to keep everything hands-on. We try to do follow-ups, audits. You want to hear from us more than once per year when you're doing your renewal. So we really try to follow up with you and stay on top of things, because when you have commercial insurance, work comp's a big one that gets a lot of business owners, is because you're kind of guessing on what your payroll is going to be for the year, and it's not always going to work out exactly to that. So that's why it's up to us to keep in touch with you, at least on a quarterly basis, to find out if you've hired a bunch of new people or if you've downsized, things like that. Because if you're growing rapidly like yourself and you start adding all these employees, you want to make sure to include that on your work comp, because at the end of the year, they're going to do an audit. And if you say you had 100,000 payroll and you've doubled in size at 200,000, well, you're going to get a bill for double the cost of what you actually paid, and you have to pretty much pay that right then and there on the audit. So, you want to be as spot on as you can with that. So we really try to stay in touch with all our clients and keep up with that kind of stuff. We do look, when I go into a business, I look for how they run their business. So it's basically, you're interviewing me as an agent, but I'm also interviewing you as a client. So I don't want somebody who cuts corners or, doesn't operate safely, things like that. So we really try to make it a good fit for both of us.
So you insure businesses. What's your typical businesses? Like which lines of businesses you looking for, you pursue?
Really anything, but I do a lot of contractors.
So construction.
A lot of construction. My biggest client is actually a company that does land clearing and grading. So, all these giant neighborhoods that are going up all over Lexington. Stanley Martin builds them, Mungo, all those types of the home builders. They're hiring subcontractors, which would be my contractor, to come in, clear all the land off and grade it and run the sewer taps, things like that, water taps. So, they pay hefty premiums to do that kind of work, because that has to be guaranteed for so many years, because, when you clear off a plot of land like that, you don't have all the trees absorbing all the water, so you have to make sure all that water runoff goes to the right spot. And yeah, my contractors have a lot of liability with that kind of stuff. But yeah, HVAC contractors, those heating and air businesses, plumbing, artists, those are called artisan contractors.
How about restaurants or retail?
I do have some retail clients. Those are pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Nothing crazy and complicated about those, unless you get into selling maybe some more obscure type stuff. The CBD world's a little bit more difficult on the retail side, just because it's so new. The insurances don't really know what to charge because they don't have a lot of claims yet. Restaurants are a bit of a sore subject for a lot of people nowadays. The ones that serve alcohol, because there's a big problem in the state right now with your liquor liability insurance. Everybody getting renewals from basically now, it started last year really, going forward, they're getting about a 500% increase.
Wow.
And you've seen a lot of restaurants in the area start to close lately.
Why is that? What changed in the law?
So there's a law in South Carolina that basically says anyone, let's say I start out my breakfast at a local breakfast spot and have a mimosa, and then I go somewhere to a gas station and buy a case of beer, go home, drink some beer, and then go to a restaurant, have one beer, back home, drink a few more beers, watching football. And then I go to a restaurant at night, have some dinner, have one more beer. And then I ended up hitting some bars, and I drink and drive and kill someone on the way home. Obviously, worst case scenario. In South Carolina, every one of those places I stopped and bought alcohol is probably going to get sued for the max limits. All the way back to breakfast, even though they only served me one mimosa.
Is it like alcohol, like in general, or wine or beer or liquor, hard liquor? Is there differentiation there, or any alcohol?
There is no differentiation in the insurance side. With the state of South Carolina, you have a beer license, beer and wine. There's different forms
But
you can get.
insurance side doesn't matter.
Insurance, it's either liquor or no liquor, so it's all or nothing.
So what's the 500%? Like, how much they were paying? Is it enough to make a difference? Like, they will close down do you know any restaurants that closed down because of that increase?
I do, several actually, and it's only going to get worse too. So the last two were Henry's and Casey. Is it the bar that closed because somebody had so that
accident?
One, they do have another lawsuit as well, but they're not going to be able to afford their liquor liability.
I heard about that bar, yeah.
So obviously a terrible situation, but they're not going to be able to afford it. Rockaway's downtown off of Rosewood just announced they're closing.
So why they did that? Like, who pushed that law? Who was the legislator who pushed that? Do you know the person behind the law?
I don't know specifically who the person is, but we do have a bill out there now to correct all of that. Mm-hmm. It is currently sitting in the Senate. The bill is called S-533. So we really need to get that pushed through. So I've been blasting all over Facebook and any social media I can to just shoot an email to your senator, say, hey, we really want to get this bill pushed through. It's just a quick, short little email that they'll see. They're not going to do a lot about it, but they at least know that we're all concerned, because it's shutting down all your small business, mom and pop type restaurants. It's not affecting your larger chains, your Fats or Applebee's or Chili's, stuff like that. It's not really getting hit as hard, but all your local stuff that I like to shop local, all those are the ones taking the big hit. So it's a really, really big problem.
That's kind of scary. So for example, in this museum, we have a lot of priceless artwork here. Do you insure something like this?
We do. So I actually, I have one person that has a whole bunch of art. Their mother was an art collector. I know your dad is the actual artist, but his mother, so we could put a value on his mother's collection because they were bought and sold, things like that. But it's in your situation with there's no value on these. It would basically be what you came up with. There is an insurance company that would insure it.
Who would be the ideal carrier? Like, can you think of a company?
Honestly, with the unknown value for all this, it would probably be through something called Lloyd's of London, where you have several different carriers that accept a partial risk. So
that company just crossed my mind.
Yeah.
The only company I will say that Lloyd's of London. Actually, believe it or not, I don't know if we ever discussed this or not. I actually have an insurance license myself at one point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I actually have an insurance property and casualty license in Kentucky.
Okay.
It's expired now. I took it once. And I used to have an insurance company too.
Nice.
But mine was a niche. Mine was equine insurance.
Okay.
So we insure racehorses. We actually tried to insure falcons.
Oh, wow.
That can be involved millions of camels.
Yeah.
And horse racing, thoroughbred horses in Kentucky.
Okay.
And the reason we get into falcons and camels, even if I was based in Kentucky, there's a lot of Middle Eastern clientele. And we were insured their horses, and they were asked for falcons and camels, which are priceless, to be insured also. So we were like, hey, there's a business on the side. Let's do those too. So I actually did property and casualty. I actually have an incident. I have a client. He bought a horse at the auction in Kinland, Lexington, Kentucky. Uh-huh. And 1 minute after he bought the horse was being taken back to the barn and had a heart attack and died.
Oh my!
So that's why insurance is very important. And also, we had to insure horses because without insurance, we could not ship them overseas. That was a requirement.
I gotcha.
So it was almost mandatory. And these horses can be worth like $1 million, $2 million a piece. So we have actuarial tables, like we calculate the value and the price and the premium based on that. And
that's
so
crazy.
I did some insurance work myself.
Yeah, and that's
not
really
like
cool.
what you did, but
well,
I did.
That's such a niche market. That's cool to hear about. You know, that's not something you think about every day. But
equine, I delved into that. It didn't make much money, so it was just a side thing. I didn't stay too long in the business to make enough money, but I had the license at one point, it expired. So I took that test.
That's cool.
And passed it first try.
Very nice, very nice.
It was funny. My two partners who took that test, they failed. So, and they were in the insurance business.
Oh, wow.
I was just doing it as a side gig, and then they were actually in the business, and they actually failed. So
they didn't study too hard then.
I mean, you would think they would know what they're doing there because that's what they did every day.
Well, that's what's scary because there are a lot of agents, not just this state, but other states that give the rest of us a bad name that, you know, they're just slinging product to make money. They're not doing it to help their actual client. It's all about quantity. We try to focus more on the quality because, you know, if something I do incorrectly hurts you in the long run, then we get sued for it. And I don't like that. So I'm going to do everything I can to do it the right way.
When I was thinking about insurance, I was thinking about fraud. I mean, I bet a lot of people do think, not a lot of people, but some people take advantage of the insurance world.
They do.
Do you have any stories about that? Like, did you ever dealt with a case that they intentionally damaged a good or tried to claim insurance, but they shouldn't, and you caught it? Do you have any stories to share? Anything exciting on that?
I mean, we see it with the way things are implemented. So, you know, I'll give you an example now. You know, the roof is the most common damage on a house, you know. So a little hailstorm comes through, somebody needs a new roof. It used to be, you know, they would send you a check to get a new roof, and a lot of people wouldn't get the new roof. So they just got to patch it up a little bit, and they collected $6,000-$7,000 and just put it in their pocket. Now what companies are doing is they're giving you a partial amount of what the claim should pay, and then you have to get the new roof and then take pictures of it and send them the invoice from the roofing company, prove that you did it, then they'll send you the rest of the money. So they're doing little things like that to implement. I don't specifically have anything. You know, I see stuff all the time where a client just barely bumped somebody, rolled into them at a stoplight or a stop sign, and, you know, somebody immediately calls a lawyer, and then they try to sue you for whatever your policy limits are. We see that all the time. And nowadays it's really tough on the insurance companies with the way inflation is. You know, a new roof, I'll go back to that for an example. Let's say it used to be a $6,000 roof on about a 1,500 square foot house. That roof now is costing double of what it used to cost. So, you know, still only one claim, but the insurance company's paying out double what they used to. So, you know, what does that mean for all of us? That means our rates are going to go up.
Higher premium. How about car insurance? Everybody's on Facebook complaining about how their car insurance went up significantly, quite a bit. Why is the reason? Is it the cost of repairing a car, or there's other elements?
Yeah,
in it?
Cost of repairing has a lot to do with it. All the litigation always has something to do with it. And then, you know, South Carolina doesn't have the best roads, so the number of people that have to get their windshields fixed is through the roof. You know, the damage done to your car from the roads is supposed to be a DOT problem, but that's like pulling teeth to get that paid. So a lot of times it falls back on the insurance company, and then it goes back to our drivers just aren't the best, and we hit a lot of stuff. so
no mandatory driver's education.
There is now.
Oh, okay.
Well, only getting your license. It should be, in my opinion, every 5 years or so, everyone should have to take a test to keep your license. That's my take, but, you know.
I have some patients who are 90 years old and still driving, and every day I say, may God protect us. I get scared, barely walking out of the clinic and then getting in that car, and it's scary. I have one patient actually hit the wall of my clinic.
Yep.
I mean, she was so under influence that she actually backed up to my building, and I had to repair the wall.
Yeah.
What's the windshield policy in South Carolina? I know state by state it changes. Like in here, like if you break your windshield, they pay it first time, or what's
Yeah,
the
we
rules?
have, if you get a crack in your glass or something like that, you know, just call your favorite insurance or favorite glass company. And a lot of times they'll just handle the entire claim process for you.
Nice.
And most of the time you don't, as long as you have comprehensive coverage, if you just have liability on your vehicle, it's not going to be covered. But if you have the comprehensive, then you can get the glass replaced.
So your mother started this company, right?
She did.
So you joined this company in 2018, right before
17.
COVID? 17.
Yep.
So how did COVID affect your business?
So fortunately, in the insurance world, everybody has to have it, and there are renewals that we collect every year. It slowed down growth, especially on my end, being on the commercial side, because I need to get out in front of people and meet business owners and things like that. And you can't just walk up into somebody's office anymore unannounced. So that kind of slowed all that down. But I was able to find a big networking group where I was put in front of a lot of business owners and decision makers. So that helped me a lot through COVID. But
so you're talking about BNI?
I'm talking about BNI. Yep. BNI really changed what I did because the commercial side was newer, and again, I couldn't get in front of anybody with COVID because everybody was a little uneasy about it and I didn't know, and I don't want to make anybody angry, so we kind of slowed it down a little bit. But that we didn't take as big of a hit as a lot of people.
So my question is, okay, insurance is mandatory by law. You need to have insurance on your car, on your vehicle, in your business. But during COVID, people were not driving as much, and the businesses were not patronized as much. So your claims were probably much, much lower.
They were.
So the insurance company, I guess, on that front, probably did very well.
They did.
You are collecting the money, but you're not paying the claims because there are not as many claims as
that's right
out there. Yeah, so it's probably good for the insurance company during that time. AIGs and all that Lloyd's of London.
Yeah, that 1 year was really good for them. But then after that, when all the inflation shot up, it's kind of been not very good at all. It's more than a wash. So last year, the national average, we work on what's called loss ratio. So, it's the amount of premium collected versus the claims paid. And, for an insurance company to survive, that has to be under 100%. Theoretically, they need it below like 88% in order to turn profits. And last year, the national average was like 107. So it was really.
So they actually lost money.
They all lost money on average.
Because of the inflation.
Predominantly because of the inflation. That has the most to do with it.
So if 107 is the ratio this year, so you're telling me next year we should expect higher premiums.
Correct. So it's not going to slow down. So we're in what's called, they call it a hard market. And I know people that have been in the industry 40 plus years, and they say it has never been like it is right now. So your really, really bad ones are the liquor liability stuff. That's the worst. Your contractors are getting hit pretty hard just because of the amount of contracting claims, and that's a lot due to somebody having a small issue and calling a lawyer, and they make it a really big issue. Litigation ruins everything. And then your habitational market, so people that own apartment complexes and multifamily housing, things like that, those are taking a really big hit right now too. So
maybe I shouldn't ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is there certain areas do you avoid insuring businesses? And I'm not talking about discriminative way, and I'm going to be up forward because sometimes the juries and court system are rigged in certain parts of South Carolina, and I'm going to be open about it. I will not open a clinic in certain areas, and I'm not going to give names, but certain parts of South Carolina which happen to desperately need good clinics, and I get requests every time, why you don't open a clinic in so-and-so? Why you don't open a clinic in this county? And there's no clinics there. And I said, there's a reason there's no clinic there, because the jury is rigged, the judge is rigged, the system is rigged. The lawyers are driving Ferraris there. I don't want to work in a county when the injury lawyer is driving a Ferrari.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but I don't, especially in an impoverished area.
Very much.
Maybe Orangeburg? No, I'm not going to open a clinic in Orangeburg. I'm sorry, guys, but that's the way it is. So is the insurance, is there like you worry about, is the premium higher in certain locations because you are more likely to get sued and lose, or it doesn't matter?
So they don't rate per se on the threat of litigation. they rate on they do rate on geographic regions. South Carolina is a coastal state. So basically anything east of I-95 could be considered coastal, and a lot of carriers won't even do it. Coastal rates I don't want to touch any coastal stuff because the rates are crazy. You have to have these very specific carriers that actually like to write down there. Most of them are pulling out of the state, and it just creates a headache for me. It's not that I don't want business, but it's just I don't have the capacity to do it because it takes a lot of time, and I'll leave that to the coastal folks. But geographically, yes, it could be affected, but not through litigation, really. That's a nationwide problem, to be honest with you. That's a big problem. There's too many laws out there that are very antiquated, that cost small business a lot of money. And, going back to the liquor thing, that's one that we have a bill out there it's got to get passed. And, with the frivolous lawsuits that come up every time you bump into somebody, you see the commercials, the dial all nines and that should be illegal in my opinion. You shouldn't be able to do all that. And they're targeting a specific demographic. Those commercials predominantly come on during the day while a lot of older people are sitting home watching soap operas, things like that. The Medicare commercials should end. I think that should be illegal because they don't understand, when you get Joe Namath or a celebrity up there pushing a product, they're like, yeah, I trust that guy. He's watched him play football forever, and he's very trustworthy. So they're going to do what Joe Namath says, which is a terrible mistake. That should be illegal in my opinion. But, you can't advertise liquor on TV. You shouldn't be able to advertise frivolous lawsuits and Medicare on TV. It should be up to us. If I'm actually hurt, I could reach out to a lawyer and do what I need to do. But I don't need, just because somebody bumps into me and I want to collect a paycheck, that shouldn't be a thing. Because all those lawyers you see on TV, they don't go to trial. They settle. And the insurance companies, it's cheaper for them to just settle than it is to take it to trial. So, whether or not they have a case, they're still going to get money out of it. And that's just wrong. But
especially, I had one time, one of my paralegal friends shared incidents. A client of theirs fell in McDonald's and she passed out, and she was suing McDonald's for slip and fall. And she had a broken rib, and apparently she knocked out unconscious. The way we knew she was knocked out unconscious, the client's daughter took pictures of the lady while she's on the floor unconscious from 5 different angles.
Oh, of course.
So it was a theatrical case.
It was a crime scene.
It was a crime scene. She was laying unconscious on the ground. Perfect posture. And then daughter took her time, took perfect angles, pictures from perfect angles. And, and then they go to the lawyer and then say, hey, we want to sue McDonald's because we fell down and my mom got injured and she actually broke her rib. So with any good paralegal, they say, okay, let's get the medical records first. So they get the medical records, and this happened in Colombia.
Okay.
She has a medical record from emergency room a day before that she fell down at her house in a bathtub, and then she broke her rib, and it happened in Orangeburg. So this person went to a emergency room, got treated for a broken rib. I guess when she got out, she was like, let me take advantage of the injury. So she drove all the way to Colombia, went to a McDonald's, dropped herself on the ground, and tried to blame it on McDonald's, and of course the lawyer was like, we cannot take this case. This injury happened the day before.
Right.
And then the client, okay, if you're not going to take it forward to another attorney, but omit the medical record from the day before. And then the paralegal said, no, we are not going to take any medical records out. We're going to send the whole thing.
Right.
So I bet in insurance world, you might sometimes run into those kind of scenarios.
Oh, yeah. And, that would go back to McDonald's Insurance would be the one paying that lawsuit. So it wouldn't be, McDonald's a corporation. That would be their insurance carrier. What started all this actually was a McDonald's claim. It's the one where the lady got the coffee and she spilled it in her lap in the car and it was too hot. She won, I don't even know how many millions of dollars because the coffee was a little too hot because she spilled it. That's what,
it was $4 million.
and that's absurd.
Third-degree burns, but what it did was encourage
it just opened up a whole can of worms that hasn't closed yet, and it's gotten worse. So, that was a big one that started it. And going back to the big corporation thing, so I'm going to go back to the liquor thing a little bit and go to the boating accident where Mallory Beach down in Beaufort, with the whole tied into the whole Murdaugh trial and all that. So the Paul Murdaugh, he went to a Parker's convenience store, used his brother's fake ID, bought a case of beer, whatever he bought there. Then they went to a party, and then they went to the bar in Beaufort on the boat. And then when they left that bar is where they went and got in the boating accident and killed the young lady. So the last bar they went to got sued for $1 million. That was their maximum limits on their policy. But Parker's, where they had gone and bought the beer earlier in the day, they got hit for $15 million.
Wow.
And that's because Parker's is a larger corporation that just happens to have higher insurance limits. So these lawyers, their first question is, what are your insurance limits? And whatever that number is, that's what they're going after. So that it's a whole string of bad when they know that, and that's what they sue for. Yes, that last bar definitely should have paid out the max limit. Family deserved to get some justice, things like that, because the bar clearly overserved someone that was belligerently drunk. That is not an argument at all. But a convenience store earlier in the day where he used a fake ID, not being intoxicated, they shouldn't have to pay out $15 million. So,
but this hurts the businesses because it increases the insurance premiums, and the business cannot afford it, and then it's just bad for everybody in the long run.
It is. It's bad for everybody, and from an insurance world, we don't see a positive outlook until next year at the earliest. Could be moving into 2026 until some of this rate increase and all that starts easing up. So,
you think it's going to ease up, or it's going to keep going up and up and up?
It's going to keep going up until hopefully next year will be the earliest it'll ease up. I wish it would ease up now because, and that's on the commercial world. When I speak with a company, I go through and, I try to implement safety procedures, and if you have a safety manual and what precautions you take, because I can take those things to the carrier and argue on your behalf that you're doing X, Y, and Z to prevent claims and, get you a better rate. The better rate I can get you, the more you can grow your business. And then, at that point, I grow as well. So it's not always us trying to get the highest rate out of a client, because I see it, if you grow, I grow. So that's the way I look at it.
And insurance is a repeat business. You have a book of business, and you want to retain and gain more business. So
that's right. That's right. So, you can't make people angry because it will. Everything now is online, and somebody goes on and see you don't have 4.5+ stars, then they're not going to use you.
People get in their feelers, go a Google review, and then hurt your business. That instant gratification, hurts business, and you cannot do anything about it. I have get so many fake Google reviews by people who are not even patients. They just put it out there, and
it's ridiculous, and we can't put somebody on blast for a negative review. Like, I think we have one 1-star review, and that specific person didn't pay their premium, so their policy got canceled. And it happened multiple times, and we were able to get it reinstated and take the money. But the insurance carrier finally said, they never pay on time, so we're got to cancel the policy, and we're not going to reinstate it. And we shopped it around and gave her some different rates. Of course, they were higher because she's got several cancellations, and she ended up going somewhere else and leaving us a 1-star review like it was our fault. And, it stings a little bit because you try to please everyone, but there's just certain things that are out of your control. And, and like you said, the fake side of it, you can go on somebody like you that's got a ton of reviews, you can tell which ones are fake.
Yep.
It's crazy.
What's the craziest business you ever insured? Like a line of business that you never thought you would insure, but you end up insuring?
Ooh.
Kind of was a challenge for you,
so
out of ordinary.
There's only been one that I haven't been able to write. And that was somebody who bought an airplane, and they were gonna like charter people on the airplane, and that just that was difficult to find because I ended up finding a rate with Lloyd's, but it was astronomical, and I was like, we're not gonna do that. I don't know if I have any crazy insurance clients business wise. I have a little wood turning club that's pretty cool. They
like a strip club or anywhere?
No strip clubs.
What kind of liabilities you might have in a strip club?
Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine.
I mean, alcohol-related liabilities. Somebody might come after STDs. I don't know. Like,
oh God, I don't even.
I don't know. There's too many things going on.
It could be anything. Yeah,
fall and slip and falls.
But most
pole accidents,
most communicable diseases are all excluded from all insurance policies.
Really?
Yep. So COVID brought that to light. Yes. People said, the insurance are throwing these crazy exclusions. That exclusion's been on there for I don't even know how long.
I had a patient. He was actually a pastor, and then he sent his wife to get tested for COVID to my clinic. And check the story. This is crazy. and he sent the wife to my clinic to get tested for COVID because she didn't have any symptoms, but she wanted to go to a concert. So she needed a negative test for COVID to go to a concert. She came, we tested her. She tested negative and she went to a concert. About 4 days down the road, she came down with COVID and sick as it gets. Husband calling me, harassing me, claiming that his wife got COVID in my clinic because there's a lot of sick people in my clinic and I'm the reason she got COVID and I should have done better job protecting the patients and I should have gone to her car, test her inside her car, or I should be able to like put a barrier between patients so they wouldn't. I'm like, how I am gonna do that? Like, I don't have a huge waiting room. Like I can make cubicles for every single patient.
Right.
Number two, maybe you caught it in the concert.
Maybe you went to a concert and were surrounded by.
Yeah, you're a little tight there, like with 50 people breathing on you, you might get it from somebody. I mean, he found out that she didn't get it, that she got it from me. And I should have gone to her car and tested inside her car. I'm sorry. It's not VIP service, okay? We are not doing that, And it was funny. Like, he yelled at me on the phone for giving his wife COVID. But I was like, you know what, man? Go get checked out.
So there's certain people that you cannot please. It does not matter what you do. I've learned that, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is, and some people are just unhappy looking for a problem.
Yeah.
Waiting tables, going back to that, because that's what I did all through college as well. Certain people come in looking for a problem.
Oh, yeah, intention to get free food or free services.
Food and not have to tip because they had bad service, things like that.
Of course.
Yeah, it's a problem, but that's human nature. We're all humans, and
I'll be sitting in the clinic all the time, and you know what? I'm surprised I never got sued. Knock on wood, But it can happen. I mean, urgent cares are notorious to get sued. I never got sued. I've been threatened to get sued, but never got sued actually.
Yeah, but that's why you have insurance. That protects you a little bit from that, and
absolutely,
your malpractice insurance policy is probably pretty hefty.
Yeah, I pay around $25,000 a year just in malpractice insurance. So that's a nice chunk. And it's crazy. I mean, doctors are targets.
Big targets.
One of the reasons I opened my clinic in Lexington, I thought about the liability, actually. And Lexington is actually friendly to the medical doctors.
That's good.
The judge and jury here are in favor of the doctors. Unless you really mess it up, you usually get a favorable outcome in a court.
That's very good.
Because they want to keep their doctors if they like the doctor. And in medical field, it's mostly emotional. People sue doctors they don't like. So you might be the best doctor with bad bedside manners and you will get sued. And you might make mistakes, but you're a friendly person and then you're less likely to get sued. So it's really depends on the doctor's personality too. It's kind of weird how it works.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. And it's like, people don't understand that doctors don't specifically know every single thing. Like, it's a practice.
We practice medicine.
You practice. Yeah, it's, it's not a guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee. So, yeah.
And people like get like COVID case. I mean, how you gave them their wife COVID? They don't know. I mean, it's just like blaming somebody for something. Sometimes you have bad outcomes. You might do the best care, and you might get bad outcomes. And it's just the human body is unpredictable.
Very much so. And me telling you what's wrong, I can't specifically, like, you can't read my body on what is actually going on. Like, I can tell you what I can, but I can't tell you specifically because I'm not a doctor and don't know as much. So everything's a puzzle for you, I guess. So, that litigation on the medical field should definitely be more forgiving. If you're doing a surgery and you leave a rag inside of somebody, then yeah, I get it. That's a problem. But
little sponge doesn't hurt anybody. But people, I did a surgery for a year, and then people always like, how a surgeon can forget like a sponge or a gauze inside the human body. Okay, here's a story. When it's all red and bloody, you cannot see it.
Looks the same.
It looks the same. And that's what we call count. So count means what we put in, we count. When we get out, we count. So there's a count. And if the count doesn't match, you cannot leave the operating room.
Yep. And
count always matches. In every single case, if a surgeon forgot something inside the patient,
always matches.
You look at the record, it always matched. So I don't know how that happened, but it's hard to see when there's so much blood. It looks just like the body, the tissue. So
I've watched my wife go through 3 C-sections, and I'm the guy that stands up and looks over the shield because I love watching this stuff.
C-section, they let you in the room?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
You have a strong stomach.
And and I wanted to go into the medical field. That was what I went to college for, and found out quickly I didn't like school enough to do that. But
what did you study, by the way?
I graduated with business administration.
Okay, so you're there.
But I went as a biology major with the plan of being an anesthesiologist. But I did the job shadowing and all that in high school, and I loved it. And watching the stuff, because that's basically what anesthesiologists do. They get to watch. Yes, you got to control some things, but you get to watch. But I'm fascinated with medicine and the way it works, and watching surgeries. So it doesn't make me queasy at all. But those C-sections, I mean, it's pretty gruesome. Like, people don't realize what these doctors are actually doing and how difficult it is. So it's very much an appreciation from my side. So
it's very dramatic. You're cutting and make a huge incision. The baby pops out. It's just like too.
Oh yeah.
And babies like to be manhandled. I think a lot of, if you can avoid C-section, avoid C-section.
Yep.
And you shouldn't do it unless it's required, or it should be, there's a risks associated with it.
I agree.
And a lot of doctors, I shouldn't say this anyways, but like I think we are pushing C-sections more than necessary. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some financial reasons for it, because it costs more, and then doctors sometimes make more money making C-sections. So I think there's a component to that. Yep. Of course, there are certain cases like twin births, for twins, you should do C-section, high risk. Also, like the position of the baby can contribute, but C-section shouldn't be done as frequently as in United States. Other countries do not do C-section that frequently.
And I'm with you on that. If we had the choice, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I'm not talking about you.
No. I'm just saying, I definitely, when I don't like the fact that they even give people the option. It shouldn't be an option. Unless there's extenuating circumstances.
There's a predictability, you go to your C-section, you know exactly the minute. Actually, it's messed up because you're determining your kid's birthday.
Right.
So you're like taking it's away from God, and then you're determining.
Yeah, no, there shouldn't be a choice unless.
And kids like to be manhandled. Kids like the trauma of being born. Like it's good for their lungs, good for their health. Like they want to start their life with a struggle. Like it shouldn't be like peekaboo, like I'm here kind of a conversation. That's interesting. So what you do to grow? I know we are part of the same business group. That's how we met, the BNI.
Yep.
And how much of your business do you think you get from BNI? What percentage of your clients do you think is coming through BNI?
I'd probably say in the 20% range, 20 to 30. So it's a pretty good little chunk.
That's a pretty good percentage.
And some people in BNI, they're experienced in rapid growth and with what they do in their industries. And it depends on the type of industry, like a law office. The premium on that's not going to be something crazy. I love the clients because it's very easy to do a standard office, but then we have people that do more construction type work. Their premiums are significantly higher, but it takes more work to keep the order in what they're actually doing and their sales and things like that. So, it's in B&I is a constantly rotating with businesses. Sometimes you got a core in there that's about 60-70% of people that are there and for more than a couple years, and then you got that 30% rotating, so you can pick off some of them as they come in. Absolutely. And as they leave, and you keep them as clients, which is a great thing. I'd like to see more consistency, but it's just one of those things that
actually that's actually good for you. The business
it's good for me. And it's very good for me.
Good for everybody. You have new faces once in a while.
That's right.
It changes the environment a little bit. Make it more exciting, I guess.
Yeah. So, that helps. And then, we'll get people that we have one billboard, and that is our only form of advertising we have ever done. We have a billboard on 378 over there by that dermatologist office, that nice fancy. And there's a new plastic surgeon over there, I think.
Lefkowitz?
Yep.
Okay.
So our billboard's right above that.
Do you get business from that billboard?
A few people, but that's typically people that know us from way back, that they'll call and say, "Oh, I forgot you did insurance," and they call us and they become clients.
Okay.
So it's good recognition for people.
How long did you do that?
We got that billboard during COVID because it was dirt cheap.
Okay.
Nobody was driving, so people weren't seeing the billboard. So we got it for super cheap, and the company we have it through, they get offers weekly on people that want that spot.
Really?
And we haven't. We're not giving it up because it's.
Did you keep the same rate you got during COVID?
No, they did go up on us a little bit, which is fine, but it's the average rate throughout. There's no surcharge for location, so we pay the same as everybody else does, but we have a very, very prime location. Going back to the how do we get business? It's predominantly word of mouth. We try to do a good enough job where people will refer us. Referral business is the best business. Because, people, and this may sound a little bad, but a lot of times when people post on Facebook, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to do general liability insurance," majority of the time they've had 5 other agents already shop it for them, and they're just not happy with what they're being told. And, I appreciate those referrals, but they're not always the best, because they're fishing.
You know what? It is the same for me. Like people post on Facebook, especially happenings in Lexington. I'm looking for a doctor. I'm not happy with my own doctor, and I'm looking for a doctor that actually listens to me. And this sentence I've seen is over and over and over again. And people, a lot of time, thank you to my friends and clients and patients. They put my name quite a bit underneath.
Yeah.
But I really don't want that referral. That referral is similar to what you experience. They've already been to 5 different doctors, and they've been told what's wrong with them, probably the same way, and they just don't like the answer, even if it's the correct answer, and they want some magical answer which is not there. It doesn't exist. Yeah. So those kind of a patient you don't want. It's a very difficult to please, almost not possible to please.
Yep.
And it's almost like most of a psychiatric case, mental health issue deep down there. So doctor shopping is real, like the insurance shop. So you really don't want that client.
It sounds so bad.
It's bad, but again, it's the reality.
I appreciate everybody that puts my name out there, comments, but it's just not great business. I live kind of by 80-20 rule, where that bottom 20% of clients probably need to go somewhere else, because you're spending so much time on that bottom 20%. You are losing so much money on them. And again, that sounds terrible, and that's the reality of growing a business. You got to trim the fat and That bottom 20% is kind of.
I was reading a marketing book, and they were asking about what's the best place to socialize and meet new clients, potential clients, and to do business. And they said it was actually nonprofits. And because you are there for volunteer and service to give away, it sets the mood. People are in a different mindset there. So you actually meet people at a very different level. You are doing there to serve other people. This can be the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Cancer Society, which I know you're a member of,
Yep.
Rotary Club, or any kind of charity work is the best place. That way you give back to the community and you actually show yourself as somebody who's willing to give back to the community. And that's actually your best advertisement, because giving back actually brings back more business than anybody can imagine, actually.
Giver's gain.
Giver's gain, our motto of our group. And I saw you're a member of the Cancer Society, so you're even wearing the bracelets. Real men wear pink for breast cancer. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to join that myself. And I think that's very impressive that you guys doing a lot of fundraising.
It shows some true colors of people.
Absolutely.
I mean, it shows that you care, and it's not, you can't be selfish and do things like that. It's a selfless act to want to volunteer and help other people. So, I like being around like-minded people. So, and that's funny that you read that, because that's so true. I've never thought of it like as being there for business purposes.
No, you are not there for business purposes, but believe it or not, you will get a lot of clients from that environment.
That's right. Yeah, never thought of it that way.
Think about it when you go home tonight, like, how many of those are my clients right now? And you might be surprised what you will find out.
Yeah.
And and as a doctor, when I joined BNI, there was not that many doctors. Actually, I think I was the only doctor at that time I joined. And, doctors usually say, we are busy, or we don't have time, or whatever, But, for me, it's a very fun exercise. I got to see half of my patients there at once, all in one room. There's like 150 people in that room, and half of them are my patients. So I got to see 75 of them at the same time. I catch up with what's wrong with them, and it is a great environment, and I highly recommend businesses to join that.
Yep. And everybody's busy. We're all busy. We have families, we have kids, we have jobs that we're committed to, but you make time for the important things. You make time.
You need to make time. So. I mean, and it's a routine, and what they say, you level down to your habits, and you need to build those habits. And BNI every week, it's structured. Certain time, certain day, you go show up and do certain. It's a routine, and it's like going to the gym. You're building up that social muscle.
That's right.
Every day, and it's important. That differentiates you between somebody who's failing in their business and somebody who's succeeding in their business. Yep. You might. You go out, do sales, and you might not get any clients. And, you do one sale, and you get 5 clients, but you keep doing it, right? You don't quit.
You don't quit. You keep going.
You keep going, and, and then do it. Don't even think about it. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And, it's the numbers game. The more you do it, you get it.
That's right.
And then, but I can think about insurances as interesting. There might be some interesting marketing ideas. I don't know, like, for example, if I were an injury lawyer, I would probably hang out in the emergency room waiting room.
Ambulance chasers. That's what we call them. Ambulance chasers.
I don't know where you hang out as an insurance agent or owner of an insurance company. I'm thinking about some creative ways.
You can hang out at the bar and know who not to insure. Watch people drink and get in their cars and drive home. That's who you don't want.
That's who you don't want. And then, actually,
you can tell very quickly when you walk into a business whether you want them as a client or not.
Like, give me an example. Like, you have a restaurant who wants you to do insurance with you. Like, what? You probably go grab a drink or grab a plate. So
I'm going to go eat there.
Okay.
And, most of the time, the front of the house in the restaurant is going to be nice, clean, whatever. Okay. As soon as you walk in that kitchen, then you'll know whether you want to insure that restaurant or not.
Or you look at the ground, like, is there something,
can see
oil?
Not just the ground. I mean, if there's visibly dirt and whatever, oil all over the ground, definitely don't want them, because that's not safe. People from working in restaurants, there are things that I know to look for. Go open the refrigerator. You can tell real quick how much they care about their restaurant and how clean they are. I was always fortunate enough to work at restaurants that very, very sticklers about keeping it clean, which they all should, but they all don't.
Do you get any food poisoning claims against restaurants?
They have those. I haven't personally had any, thank goodness. But yeah, it's a thing. But it's so hard to prove.
Yeah, that I was thinking about.
It's one of those where it would probably just get settled outside of court.
Absolutely.
The insurance carriers say, yeah, fine, here's X amount of dollars. You know.
There's a lawyer in Seattle, and I used to know about this guy, and then I actually went to Seattle to visit my family members, and I saw his office, and he has actually his own Netflix.
Oh, wow.
And this lawyer made a niche out of suing fast food joints for food poisoning. But this guy made the art out of it. Like, he has scientists and pathologists on the payroll. Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he can prove it, and then that's his niche, and he made a lot of money.
I'm sure he made a ton of money doing that.
Like, how about any interesting claims? Like, nothing like crazy. Like, give me some stories, man.
So here's a fun one. Well, not fun for the homeowner. So there was a person at their house sitting on their front porch with their little dog. All right, the porch is blocked off. You know, they got one of them little gates that blocks the stairs off, so the dog's contained to the porch. There's another person walking by on the sidewalk, walking their dog. The dog on the porch barks. The lady falls, sues that person for their dog barking, and won.
And won. How? Like, how you can stop the dog from barking?
You can't, but she said that's the reason she fell and got hurt, because of that dog barking.
But she was on the sidewalk.
Doesn't matter. Stuff like that is why your insurance
But
rates are
what's like in malpractice? Like, what's the mistake there? Like, the dog shouldn't be in the porch.
You're supposed to have control of your animals at all time. So, like, you know, I would say if you're walking on the sidewalk by each other and your dog lunges at them, yeah, I get that. But being on your own, that's just a claim that should never be paid out, but it is. And you know, it's wrong, but it's the way it works. So you can sue anybody over anything.
I had the one lawyer, and he was representing this car wash company. Mm-hmm. And this car was going through the car wash. The client got out of the car in the middle of the car wash, like going through the conveyor belt, got out when the water is spraying all over, and she's supposed to fall and slip. It's soapy water. Obviously, it's very slippery, and sue the car wash company for getting out of the car in the middle of a car moving in a conveyor. It's just like weird. And actually, they won.
Insurance, unfortunately, does cover stupidity. Unfortunately, it does.
Almost like not having insurance. I mean, you cannot have not insurance, but it's almost like protects you because nobody wants to sue.
You can't have any assets, though, because if you have any assets, they'll sue all your personal assets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you have nothing, there's nothing to go after.
Yeah. Being broke sometimes is good for you.
Sometimes it is good.
And nobody can sue you. That's why some companies go bankrupt. Like, you know, they declare bankruptcy to get rid of the liability.
Just
and then
go bankrupt and start a new company.
Yeah, start a new company. It's
Easy.
cheaper, you know. Yeah. It's easier to pay. Okay, you want that $10 million settlement? Guess what? We're going to go bankrupt and then move on to another company.
That happens all day, every day.
All day, every day, you know. Just because you won in the court. And that $50 million settlement the McDonald's lost, I'm sure it got appealed. So they didn't pay out that much. But
well, they get tied up in litigation for years. You know, some of these cases get tied up for years, but they end up getting something out of it.
Yeah. So lawyers need to make money somewhat. Well, it was nice to talk to you. It was so interesting. You know, I love insurance. I mean, I delved into it, and so great to talk to you. So thanks for coming here.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Hoppe.
Thank you.